Is this kind of it is. We're gonna get real
How about
close to
mine?
these.
Oh yeah, gotta have it like this.
Oh, it worked.
There'll be a lot of leaning.
Just like crowd thing. Am I amplified at this level? No. How about now? Well, damn it.
I'm naturally loud, so
It's cool. I'll just hunch.
yeah. There's a lot of hunching. I had this conversation at the other panel I did yesterday about how short these are, and they're like, "So you don't like hunching?" I'm like, "Not particularly. Like an hour of doing this ain't fun."
We're at the con for it, Greg.
Yeah, true.
Hi. I'm gonna hunch.
I got a hunch I'm gonna be king. Oh,
Whoa.
wow! But we have 3 minutes.
True. Anyway, like I was saying, my social security number. Oh no.
You were just about to give away all your credit card numbers.
Oh, no, you can have it, honestly. If somebody wants to pay my credit card debt, like
Oh,
yeah.
I
yeah.
will give you my credit card number.
I don't know that's how that.
It definitely
Works.
is how that works.
I don't think
I'm
that's how that
pretty
works.
sure.
Maybe.
We could try it though.
Right.
There's only one way to
Anybody
find
want the login and password to pay all my
bold of
bills?
you to assume that I know my password.
yeah,
Oh, that's
well,
cool. You can just give us your mother's maiden name.
yeah,
Fine.
and your
You can figure it
social.
out.
We'll get it from there.
My dog's name is Bailey.
What's your favorite color? When's your
I
birthday?
hate those questions because it's always like, right, like you're just like, I don't know. Right now it's green, but when you ask me in 6 months, I might be wrong. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah. I was like pretty staunch blue, and then I got all this teal stuff on me, and now
I mean, I've
kinda
been
liking teal.
Team Yellow my entire life, and I'll remain Team Yellow
Let's go Team Yellow.
until I die.
Whoa.
Nothing will deter my loyalty to Yellow. Nothing.
Well, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
I've
Good
got
luck.
I've got a smear campaign about yellow going up.
You know, the smear campaign about Yellow has been going on my entire life. There's a lot of people who actively hate Yellow, and I say to you, why do you hate Joy?
Ooh, because I'm the color of sunshine. Look at me.
Yeah, look at me. I'm happy. People,
It's true.
it's
the bad folks in Green Lantern. They
Have
don't-
you
know?
read the yellow wallpaper?
Yeah, like the wallpaper has like octopuses in it or something, maybe, or maybe it's just like somebody is diagnosed with hysteria and it's.
I mean, that's still
A
not
poignant
that's
commentary.
that is not my issue. As a person that has 2 offices in my home and they're both yellow,
I need a yellow kitchen.
I don't. So
This is off to a great
wallpaper
start, I
is
feel.
so annoying to deal with that we had wallpaper when we bought the house, and I'm like, all of this is coming down. Turns out getting rid of wallpaper is even worse.
Yeah.
There's a lot of wallpaper still left in that house where I'm like, I cannot. Who do I have to pay?
I'll do it. I will come over and I will do it for free. Have you ever?
Heck yeah.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever
a
like
really
started
long-
pulling off wallpaper and then it just keeps going?
Yeah.
I will tell you, in
It's
my
like-
home, no.
It's like the dream of
Horrible
sunburns.
patches. Horrible scabby
Oh,
patches.
yeah. So as you all have no doubt figured out by now,
We are.
this is a panel about randomness. Yeah. Specifically using randomness in your TTRPGs. Our illustrious panel includes myself. I'm Logan Jenkins. I'm a member of Very Random Encounters, the podcast. We've been going for 7 years. Hey. And in our show, we play pen and paper RPGs and randomize as much as possible. So we know a thing or two. We also wrote a book.
We did.
With me, Greg, and our other 2 co-hosts. The ultimate random encounters book. We didn't choose the title.
We did
So
not.
That means it's not like us bragging on ourselves. It's just true.
It's our publisher bragging on the shelf for us.
we shall continue down the path.
Oh, hi everybody. My name is Kate Osborne. I go by Katieosaurus on the internet. I talk a lot about TTRPGs and neurodivergency. I am also a member of Random Encounters. I'm not. That was a lie, but I figured if I said it, then maybe it can come
I mean,
true.
you're welcome.
I mean,
to
you're
guest
welcome.
anytime.
Yes.
We have plenty of mini seasons we have to do. Do not worry.
But no, I have a podcast called Infinite Quest, where we do play TTRPGs. I don't know, I'm a very random person, I guess. I haven't had coffee yet, so this is
This is
gonna
gonna be
go
exciting.
so well.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, and I'm Greg, which only makes sense if you listen to the show.
Yeah.
I'm Greg Leatherman. I'm also part of Air Random Encounters. I've been doing it for 7 years. I'm also a game designer. So if you've ever heard of the game Glitter Hearts, that's me. And
They loved
it. They love that game. The rest of you get up. But yeah, we've been doing the show for 7 years. We started the show. So the conversation that I had was like, okay, we can do the show, but like, maybe we shouldn't do random things. And then Logan and Wheels were like, or what if we did all random things? I said that's absolutely not going to work. That is not an idea, but let's try it. And it turns out it was an idea.
So we were all certain it was not going to
Yeah,
work.
we
It
were
was just a
absolutely
gimmick,
positive
right?
it was not going to
I
work.
mean, it is a gimmick. But it turns out it's awesome.
Point of order.
Yeah.
How do you two define randomness?
So, I mean, just using some kind of, math rock or digital means of determining an outcome from several possibilities. You know what I mean? Like probably around 20.
Yeah, 20 is usually the max. Well, that's not true.
100.
So okay,
100 I've done. I've done that before.
okay. So here's why I'm asking this question, because I feel like when I think of randomness, I think of like that meme of like lol penguin of doom. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So when you two are talking about randomness, particularly in TTRPGs, I just started like podcast interviewing you. I'm so sorry. I don't know
Yeah,
if this is
no,
my
do
bad.
it. Give
So
us
when
structure.
you two talk about randomness, you are talking about a facilitated structure of things like, I don't know, like a table of monsters or a list of names or places or that kind of thing.
Species.
That
Stats.
happens a lot when we get down into the finer details. So how it generally starts is whoever's going to be the GM that season. So every season of our show is a different game system. So we play a different game. One of us is going to be the GM for that game. And generally when we start, usually the first thing I do is I just go to like a story generator for the genre, which has nothing in it, and say, write me a plot. What is my plot going to be this season? So that is whatever that website or whatever that seed that has been programmed in, however big or small it is, that spits out generally what's going to happen. And then from there, when we get into the finer details, because every game system only has so many classes, it has only so many things that you can put together. So unlike D&D that has a million things online, we all spend a lot of time cataloging the book to make it into a chart. So the first episode of every season is everybody finding out who the player characters are. And so to prep for that, the GM has to figure out, okay, well, I have to put together a table of the options. And so it's a little bit of both. For the GM, there's a lot more wild. Like if it's set in modern times, I think at one point I just said, give me a city in America, because that's where we're going to be based. That happened for Normal. Wasn't that Normal, Illinois, that we ended up in?
Yeah.
And so those things are huge. And then by the nature of having to play a game, we have to narrow it down.
To podcast interview you, what were you thinking when you
Yeah.
were coming into the room? Like, what is your aspect
Yes,
of
Dan,
randomness?
baby. Oh, well, because that's the thing is my background is primarily in theater, and
mine too.
before that, improv. I actually worked at an improv theater for like 10 years in my late teens and early 20s, and it changed me.
It does.
But so when I think of randomness, a lot of times I do think of that kind of,
Yeah.
but that idea of, hey, audience, we need a suggestion.
And
Yeah.
y'all say,
Cheese.
Cheese.
Correct. All right. Welcome to, I don't know, The Quiet Year starring Cheesetown or whatever,
Yeah.
right? But so I think not the difference, but one of the ways that I sort of think about randomness is that there's always a thing to build upon, right? So it's like whatever the suggestion is, cheese. And then it's like, okay, well then where do we go from there? Are we
Mhm.
talking about cheese the food? Are we talking about cheese the town? Are we talking about cheese the goblin? Like whatever it may be. And so I think that when I think about that, I'm more picking out like what could cheese become, and how does that randomness then lead into the sort of like tale that we're trying
Yeah.
to tell?
Yeah,
I think it's super important.
I was also that's my degree. Woo! Theater arts major.
Woo! Look at me now, Mom.
I'm doing nothing with it, but I did it, and we did do improv house. And I think the improv part comes in, particularly for us, is when you get this character and you're like, I have no idea, but I have to lean into this. There's a season that Logan wrote where I got my character was a rock,
Mhm.
a pig,
Mhm.
and a bug.
Well, so the rocks were
Combined.
crystals from space.
Crystals
So-
from space, to
make
be
sure you-
clear. But again, I wrote Logan's like, keep rolling, and I'm like, really? And so I ended up with a crystal bug pig person, and then you're just it's like, okay, and next week we start, and I'm like,
But now Robert is like
Robert is I love Robert
the most popular one for people to draw
Yeah.
because
because it's wild.
do whatever.
Do whatever, you figure it out.
But to your point, it's kind of both, right? It's the initial thing of figuring out how you're going to determine something from a set number of possibilities, but then the real like success that you're going to find with randomization is to lean into whatever the randomizer gives you. So the scary thing about randomizing your character is, oh no, I will be bad at things.
Yep.
But it turns out that in collaborative storytelling games, that's totally okay.
That's fine.
It's baked into the system. So you just have to sort of like play within the bounds, and the person who's running the game is gonna meet you halfway, and you're gonna be able to celebrate the awful things that your character can't do.
I have to get all the way up this early in the morning.
Yeah, well, it's almost noon.
That's early, dog. I don't know about you.
Like I have to
It's
work
dragon
I had to
time.
work at 8.
So on that topic of like dealing with, oh no, my character's bad at things. One of the like taglines kind of for this panel is, how to like essentially like just let your D20 do its damn thing. Ones are pretty easy to deal with because you can make them funny. What about like 2s and 3s and things like that? Like how to handle?
So okay,
Yeah.
Thank you for asking that question. So obviously, like you said, somebody's looking for, or like at a bar, right? A character's looking for information at the bar, and they roll a 1. You're telling them you didn't learn anything because they know they rolled a 1. They rolled a 1. If they get a 20, obviously they get incredible information. If they get a 3 or 4, tell them wrong information.
I mean, tell them wrong information with a 1 too. I mean, so one of the things that I think, which is a separate topic than this, but for TTRPGs, is also with how randomness somewhat works, is reframe how you think of failure. I think when you get a character that is randomly determined and it's bad at things, your natural instinct is to resist it because I'm bad at things in my real life and it feels bad. I don't want to be bad at things in my pretend life because that almost feels worse. But you can actually get some very interesting choices of what you do for your character being bad at things. Like, I'm on paper dumb. So how would I actually go about find what are the skills that let me overcome this? That's on my sheet because now I have to look at what other options I have. How am I compensating for this? Or how am I laying in it? What dumb thing am I going to do that's actually to get me that information? And one of the things that I think about the current sort of D&D D20 pass or fail thing that a lot of people have problems with, it's a yes or a no, is they take the no as a brick wall when a no is just you don't get what you want, but what else happens? You failed at that. But we need the story to move.
Yeah, like so. Yes.
Yeah.
And, oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I have a thing. I have a tool for you,
Yeah.
and I'm not sponsored. I'm not a shill, but it's genuine yet.
Well,
Unless.
unless.
But it is genuinely one of the best tools that I have found to sort of deal with the what do I do with the 2 or 3 or 4. Everybody take out your phone. I was going to bring it and I left it in my hotel room. And then I realized, so you want to look up Tower House Creative. That is the name of the company. And they sell a die. It's a D20, but it's called the Fate Mill die. And how it works, let me see if I can pull up a picture big enough so like people might be able to see it a little tiny bit. But so basically each of the, nailed it, crushed it. I can work my phone. But so each of the faces have like the 2 or the 1 or the 20 or whatever, but it says like, so 20 is yes and 2 is no and 14 is yes but. And so it gives you a prompt to start that like what do I do with the 2? It's like, well, it's no and something happens, you know, that kind of thing.
I love the double and also.
yes,
and and it literally changed the way that I DM, because I used to do that too, because I would be like, I sort of would think about it as like tiers, where it was like, okay, like a 18 to a 20 is an A, you succeed. But I realized that was, to speak exactly to your question, that was really detrimental to my players, because then it was like, if you roll generally high, you get what you want. And so this gave me the opportunity to be like, oh, well, actually, you get what you want, but you fall down and you look like a big goof, you know, or whatever. Yeah.
I love that dice idea. It's super cool. But what with like the scenario of it's too hard? Like, is there a specific like scenario that you can think of that dice is perfect for? But I can think of multiple scenarios where it's like they need a really high skill check and that dice just doesn't really cut it.
So the question I always ask is, why is the skill check so high? If it's meant to be a brick wall, why are they rolling for it?
Yeah.
If it's meant to be a dead end, what? Like the answer isn't always, yeah, you can roll for it. Sometimes the answer is no, no, that's not an option here. It's just not. That person actively hates you. They've just stabbed you. They aren't going to give you a
cannot
cookie. Like
romance them.
you're not. It's not going to work.
Unless.
Part of I think one of the damages that improv leaking into the space is everybody's heard the yes and part of it, but when you are trained in it, there's a no but that is very powerful. It's not always agreeing to it, because sometimes in improv people cross boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I keep interrupting because I get excited.
Go.
But like,
Yeah.
also one of the things, and I have a YouTube series about improv and TTRPGs if
Hell
you'd like
yeah.
to watch it. But one of the things that I very much believe in is when you have like yes and is like the like day one, right? You
Yeah.
walk in improv class and like Tina Fey's like yes and. But there are moments in improv when no is funnier.
Absolutely.
But you have to be trained in that.
Yeah.
You have to have the cognizance and the ability as a DM or an improviser or whatever to look at it and go, actually, no.
Yeah.
And then that's when the audience goes, ah, and you end the
Yeah.
scene or whatever. But having that cognizance of like, is the no more powerful? Because no isn't necessarily bad. And I think that we can have a real tendency to treat no as bad because we've had this idea of like yes and drilled into us. But no sometimes facilitates a much more interesting story. And I honestly think that failure a lot of times, especially in TTRPGs, is more interesting than success.
Yes,
Yeah. I mean, provided you make it interesting. A lot of people say we failed. End. And I've had DMs where like this one person has this bit of information, but you all failed getting it. Like, so what do we do? Like, where do we go?
Yeah, we didn't unlock the door.
We didn't unlock
and that's
the door,
only
and
door.
there's no other door. So what's your plan here?
I think a helpful thing to sort of reframe yes and, because yes and is as short as that can be, right? But yes is accept what has just been put on the table. Like yes meaning you've added to the world, and means and now I'm going to build on whatever you just said. And building on it doesn't have to be agreeing to whatever the character said. Your character might hate this, but again, that might be funny.
If we can backpedal a bit to character creation, a lot of times, I'll try and warn everybody. I'll say, hey, we're rolling up random characters. I'll get a few people message me, say that sounds fun. And then somebody shows up and they say, I really like this build. I've been wanting to play this build for a long time, and I have to break their heart. Is there a gentler way to navigate around that, or to get people excited about playing a random character?
I have a million thoughts immediately.
Yeah.
But I think like, okay, this is going to be like the most mundane beige take in the history of the world. But I think like if you, as the facilitator of the game, ask your players to build a randomized character, and somebody comes in with like a very well built character, if you treat that person with kindness and compassion, and you go, hey, I love the initiative, I love what you did, but this is not like what we're trying to do, because I think it's more, and you can even do the little speech about like, it's more interesting to be bad at stuff and like failure. But I think like you're allowed to have that boundary at your table if that's the type of play that you're trying to facilitate. And like, if they get upset, like technically they're the one who didn't do the assignment.
Yeah. You didn't do what the group was doing.
If you managed expectations, like, and they came with a different thing than you said, then that's not you're not the bad guy.
Right. I mean, it's also just having people do that a lot. There's a lot of fear of losing control. And one of the things we were afraid of when we started the podcast is we have no control. Is this going to be awful? I think one of the ones I also like to use is we had a listener who made us a game to play, a Moppet version, very Moppet, which is legally distinct from the Muppets. So you cannot sue us because Muppets are different. And the game is you pick a movie, and then most people play Muppets, and then there's a human actor. And we were doing it for a miniseries, and Logan texted like, guess what? I rolled Blade Runner. And we're like, how is that a thing we're doing? And then I said, that is the thing we're doing.
I didn't say how is that. I was like,
I mean, I thought,
hell,
hey, I thought, how is that a thing we're going to
Blade
do?
Runner.
How is this going to work?
I immediately was just like, oh, he says you're a Blade Runner. And like,
Hey, everybody.
But some of saying no is also understanding that you're trying to deal with their actual emotional fear of letting go. And some of that you just say, we are trying an experiment, and if we all hate it, we don't have to continue. But let's try it and see if we can make something incredible. Let's just try it.
Yeah.
And what we found out, and what a lot of people find out, is it's really incredible if everybody leans into it, and you're just like, I have no idea what's happening. I have no idea how we're doing this, but we're making something very unique.
yeah, like you have like just being a human and growing up and experiencing media, you have all these things like just baked into your head, and it's kind of like rudimentary if you just play the way you think you should play, but randomness makes you not do that. It makes you take like a left turn where you wouldn't have. And now you're in the middle of the forest, and you're like, wow, we've never seen any of this before. It's really cool.
Point of order.
That's
Sorry.
Want to make your way up?
I just want to know, what would be your movie that it would be all Muppets except one person? Because I know
Okay.
mine. I know mine immediately.
Wait, Runner.
Well, I can't. We did play it. My one is, I'm a musical theater nerd. I want a Muppet version of Sound of Music, where only Maria is the human.
That's good.
Everybody else.
That's good.
Muppet Nazis?
Look. What?
What's yours?
I was gonna say Knives Out and keep Daniel Craig.
Oh yeah. I mean, Knives Out is a great idea.
Yeah.
It almost already is. Like,
It
last
almost
time
already
it kind of is a bunch of Muppets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
So to side pedal a little, when we were talking about trying to figure out how to treat failure as like not a roadblock, but as a like continuation, I think something that I feel trapped in sometimes is like when I get the prompt no but or no and, it's like no and also something extra bad happens, which does not forward the plot. It just
Yeah.
makes it worse.
Yeah.
It can though.
Yeah, it can
So,
It can
like,
absolutely.
is there do you have ways to like think about failure, just like to recontextualize it as like to try to get away from the punishment aspect of failure a little bit, in a, like, because you don't want to feel like you just sucked.
I mean,
I think
sometimes
that's
punishment
sometimes a law.
is
Yeah.
appropriate. Sometimes it is, you did so poorly that I do need to punish you for doing that poorly. It really depends. I think the thing to keep in mind is, what am I doing to push things forward? The goal always is, how am I pushing things forward? So whenever you get a roadblock, and it should be particular, like, okay, well, you did really, really bad. So not only did you insult the bartender and not get the information, but they stabbed you. So now the scene shifts to them getting help. And then who at that getting help is now an opportunity to get them what they want. So that was a bad encounter, but now I have shifted.
So always like point out an exit door.
Yeah, there's always should be a way out, because one of the most frustrating parts of the unpickable lock is there's a door there, you'll never get through it. Okay, then it's just a brick wall. You've just described a brick wall. You've tempted me with something that I could do. I can't do it. And now I am angry that you took a choice away from me that was never a choice. So don't give them that choice. Like, a lot of people are like, well, of course this shop would have a back door so they'd have it, but it's barricaded. Why does... Do you know how many places in New York are not up to fire code that do not have exits? Like, it is just as realistic as that there's not a back door, that there is one. So if you don't want them to come through the back, don't have a back door. If you want to make getting through that really difficult, that's a different conversation, but it still should be possible. But if you want it to be impossible, like, well, the DC's 40, good luck. And another thing, people treat nat 20s as, I now give you the key to the universe. That's not what that is. Particularly on skill checks, because in the rules, that's not what that is. But people, like, nat 20s are super exciting, so you want to give them the world. But that's not always great either, because now what? Like,
Yeah, 1 in 20 chance to jump to Saturn.
is really
That's
great.
really high. That's a super high
It's a
chance. to be
super high
able
chance to jump to Saturn.
You can also, like, I know we have other questions, so I'll be quick. But the other thing too is that if you are worried about failure as a consequence, the locked door is such a good example, right? Because okay, you go into a room and there's nothing, there's just a locked door, and everybody tries. Oh no, you can't get it unlocked, and it's like, well, great, now the adventure's over and we're stuck in a room forever. But you can also tailor that failure to your players, right? So if you have a player who has like Animorph, whatever it's called, right?
Animorph.
That's the scientific name.
Yeah.
For it. You know what I mean? But like, okay, so do you have a player who can like turn into mist? Do you have a player who can like turn into a cockroach? Like whatever it may be. Can they get through the door that way? Can they turn into sand and come through the key like the cinematic movie masterpiece, The Mummy? Right.
Right.
All
Ooh,
of those
Muppet,
things.
Muppet Mummy.
Oh my
Who
god.
Who would you leave as the human? Who would you leave as the human? Answer this question.
There's two humans. There's 2 humans in that one. There's 2 humans.
Yeah,
in
there
that
would
one.
have to be 2 humans. It would have to be Evie and Rick, but like part of me also says Ardith Bay.
I know you're gonna sleep on that one.
God.
Here's the thing.
I can't. That's all I'm gonna think about for the rest of this fucking
I know.
time.
I did this.
Freaking.
The
Sorry,
other thing
Internet.
is sometimes failure means they succeed, but you take away a major resource. So their lockpicks are destroyed. So they can no longer use that going forward because it shattered when they did it for whatever reason. Or they lost something, or the door could only open so far, so they have to leave a pack behind because they have to squeeze through. Like failure isn't always a stop. Failure is also you lose things that are important. Or one of the things that I think other game systems do really well, Powered by the Apocalypse was tough for me to sort of get into, but then I got it and I wrote a game in it, is what does a mixed success look like? What do you have? What hard choice do they have to make? You can pass, but you're going to have to make a hard decision to get past it. And then the failure falls on them. Okay, you can get through this door, but surprise, it's a door with teeth and everybody's going to take 20 points of damage going through it. Is that a thing you want to do, or do you turn around and leave? And then the failure option is on them. Okay, I'm not going through death door. It bites. I am going to find another way because I don't want to deal with mouthy McDoor over there.
About to play Crocodile Dentist
Yeah.
on the door.
So, especially as a GM, you need to have a little control over this story because if you OD on randomness too much, you get mad libs, right? So, how do you draw that line between when you throw the shiny rock versus your improv versus when you guide the story a little bit?
I mean, you all have a different taste. The GM always guides the story. Even when we randomize, the GM is still taking the pieces and thinking, what am I going to do to make this cohesive so that it's not just Mad Libs? So it is the job, and often the thankless job of the GM, to throw up the guardrails and say, that's out of bounds. That is not what we're doing here. And I'm going to gently guide you here-ish. We're gonna move this way. That's but also I think for GMs, one of the things to also deal with when you're a GM is also you giving up your control. GMs, by our nature, don't like giving up control. And doing randomness when you're a GM is, in essence, I'm giving up a lot of my control over what's going to happen. That's also fine. As long as you are still somewhat aware that as the game master, so to speak, you are still in charge of keeping it cohesive and doing, I think the GM has a lot more improv to do when you've got random things because they're going to add things and you also have to use things like, okay, well, no, there isn't a golden kill-all ring in that tree, like you've said, but there's this.
That's when we started Very Random Encounters. We just assumed it was going to be Mad Libs. Like that was kind of what we're getting in there to do. And then it was like, oh, the bad characters still just sort of keep going because there's like human brains involved. And, you know,
we're getting
I've created a visual aid.
We're getting visual aids.
Yeah.
This is very exciting.
Okay, so I want you to finish your thought though.
Oh, I mean, it's just so the more we did it, the more like really you can listen to the first season is unhinged, but still
it is unhinged.
But it's still like we go to a logical conclusion, and there's like, you know, the nice plot threads that started via the random prompts get tied up, and then we just got better and better at that because we just kept leaning further into randomness. But it's not like you're randomizing every single thing that happens. We randomize the plot seed, and then we use our creativity to make that blossom.
And the improv skills. I mean, we are somewhat out of control over what happens, but also we are 7 years into it. We're like, heck yeah, do that. That sounds great.
I want to see this visual aid.
Okay, so your question is like about how GM can keep things on the rails and make sure that the story is getting told while also in like giving players agency and flexibility, right? So this is now this is a model of how I run a lot of my games. And so what I do is I think through like this story, right? Most of the time I will homebrew my story, but like you can do this with like Strahd or like Phandalin, whatever you want to do, right? But so basically what happens is your players are going to start in a place, right? So that's the first box. And they're in a box, they're in a tavern, they're in a cave, they're in the woods, whatever. And they're going to find certain things in the woods, right? They're going to find maybe, or like, I'm just going to keep it as tavern because I'm basic. But so in the tavern, maybe there's going to be some NPCs, right? So there's going to be a bartender, there's going to be a mysterious man with a hood. There's going to be like, I don't know, also a lady with a transatlantic accent for some reason.
There is always a lady with a transatlantic accent.
But you can do it a couple ways, right? You can decide like the bartender only has this information, or the transatlantic lady only has that information. Or what you can say is, I know that I need my players to get this star right here. This is what I need them to get to. I need them to find the domino that starts the adventure. So the randomness then becomes, who do they talk to? And so and then that's your job as the GM to facilitate. How does the transatlantic lady versus the bartender
This.
Whatever. So then they go to the second location and the same thing. Now they're in the woods and it's spooky and it's scary. And then maybe there's some monsters. Does the monster have something that they need? What monster are they going to fight? Right. And you just keep doing that. So what you do is you seed each scene in this story, in this world that you're sort of structuring with like the carrot, the apple, the domino, whatever you want to call it, right? The candy. I don't know why I keep saying random things. It's fine.
It's because that's the nature of the show.
It's taken me. But when you do that, then that way your players have different ways of looking. Like if the secret book, they have to find the secret book. If they want to look in the trunk, great, it's in the trunk. If they want to look in the desk, it's in the desk. Great. If they want to go out back and dig up a grave, oh, it was in the grave the whole time. Good job. You solved my puzzle.
I did that once. So my whole, I just said that there was a waterfall in the background. They're like, there's something behind that waterfall. And, and then like, sure enough, there was a MacGuffin in the thing. And like the book was like, it's definitely not in that waterfall. But I was like, oh, absolutely.
It's definitely in that waterfall. For sure. Because I love that choice you're making.
Just to diagonal pedal a little bit here. First time DM, first time caller here. So I'm enjoying my game. My players love it. However, I find it difficult for myself to think of with randomness with just random NPCs they just talk to. I have difficulty trying to make them, I guess, like unique or different enough from the other ones, because I feel like I had to think of some sort of unique voice, but I only have like 3 voices in my head or something like that. Yeah. So I'm wondering what sort of process y'all do to actually think of just fun, unique NPCs. And also, additional challenge is how to make sure those NPCs aren't too goofy or whatever. Or it could be like a balance of both, but I just tend to think of like cartoonist NPCs besides serious NPCs.
So one thing that a lot of people say, like, social interactions shouldn't have roles. And I completely disagree, because your players will know what arguments work on you. The role says, does it work on this character who's not me? You make an impassioned speech. Great. That's a great speech. Roll. Nope. They hated it. They hated it. They hate you. I firmly stand you do not need to be an actor. We are. And so we have I went through 6 years of training to be able to come up with 400 characters at the drop of a hat. You don't have to. You never have to. You have to let the dice say what they say. You present them how you roughly sketch them out to be. think about the 400 people you passed at Dragon Con just today. How many of them do you remember? Did you talk to any of them? Did they? I mean, there are people who literally say certain podcast hosts all sound the same. And I'm like, you are wild for saying that because they are all wildly different to me. But to millions of people, they hear no difference in those voices. They don't need to hear it you either.
The voice isn't mandatory. That said, everybody in this room has 9 voices. Let me unlock the potential for it.
True.
You have the vertices are like alignment. You've got slow talking guy, medium regular speed talking guy, fast talking guy, low voice guy, regular voice guy, high voice guy.
Yeah.
Multiply.
Multiply. And do more.
And on it, listen, hot take. Are you really even a GM if you don't have Steve, Neve, and other Steve in your game? Like, you know what I mean?
This is why Fartbuckle is
Yeah.
like doing gangbusters on TikTok right now.
Yeah.
Like, because everybody has known Fartbuckle and
Yeah.
the GM knows too. Like, I just put 2 words together that sounded bad.
Yeah. I mean, I have Smythe. I have also, when my players have gone completely out of bounds, I said, well, you're talking to Jane, not important to this plot. So you can continue talking to Jane, not important to this plot, and we will not follow the plot. We can do this because I will act at you because I have a degree that I'm not using. So if we're all in this boat, I'm taking you down with me. Yeah. Oh yeah. That town. Yeah. That whole family. They're just a nightmare to deal with. They always show up, and you're like, "Why are you here? You are not important to this plot. Please leave."
I think it's handy to also have just a list of names if you aren't comfortable with Mike and Schmike and
Other Mike,
other
Another
Mike,
Mike.
Mike 2.
short Mike and tall Mike.
There are also tools that have things enrolled that you can
Yeah,
just
we did
quickly
roll-
roll to get a rough idea. You know, in a 10-second interaction, you are not getting that person's life story. You are getting a first impression, and then you are moving on.
That's right. If your group falls in love with somebody, which eventually they will fall in love with an NPC, and somebody you didn't plan to, next session, you've got time to do work on.
Yeah. Yeah. But that has happened,
Yeah.
and we have dealt with that tragedy. It was a sad love story because they were not important to the plot and therefore easily killed off.
Really
So
funny.
I've got 2 things. One
Yes.
of them we're kind of like loop-de-loop pedaling at this point. Woo! So, with rolling random characters when there are bad skills.
Mhm.
My GM over there sometimes runs a really lethal game, and that is scary.
Yeah.
When your character is bad at the thing that is necessary to make sure they don't die in that encounter, combating that.
Okay, what if they
How?
do die? So one of the
I get
things
attached to the character.
true. One of the things so everyone's like, "What was your first game?" And you know, I'm old, so everyone's like, "It was D&D, right?" I said, "No, my first game was Gamma World, the game that your character dies constantly. Every character, the world is designed to kill you. It is surprising if you make it past halfway through the adventure before you have to swap characters." The question becomes, okay, the DM knows what your limits are. Also, sometimes the dice just say, guess what? You're dying today. And mourn them. Like, I'm really sad that this person met the end that I didn't expect. But you know what? That's also what happens in life. You get very attached to things that suddenly are taken away from you. And in a safe environment, you can sort of learn how to deal with that and be like, I'm really sad that this character that I really put a lot of thought and effort into, the 5 minutes I had it because it was completely random, meant something to me. And I'm going to take what I learned there, apply it to the next character, and I'm going to make different choices. And what can I also, are they related to this person? Like it is the funny thing, like, oh look, their exact twin showed up. Who knew they had a twin?
Taller Mike.
Taller Mike is here.
Um,
James, not important to the plot, has arrived.
if you're in a lethal campaign, like something like Dungeon Crawl Classics, right, has a pretty specific system for this, where you make 6 characters at fully knowing one of those is getting past floor 1 of this dungeon, and that makes that one that made it probably just through happenstance, even though all of their stats are random in Dungeon Crawl Classics, you just roll random stats for everybody. The one that makes it maybe it was just luck, but now they're legendary.
Now they're legendary.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna be in a lethal campaign, I mean, at that point, like if you're building stats to min max, then you're kind of playing a different game than collaborative storytelling in a little bit, you know.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. So I promise this will come back around to an answer. So I was on this like celebrity D&D cruise thing. I know I'm
Fancy.
so fancy. And so all the DMs were like, we're gonna play D&D together, and like everybody can come watch, and it was great. So the DM who was crowned, it's fine. He was like, okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna do like this underwater adventure. We're on a cruise. We're gonna do an underwater adventure. So like the entire group shows up with these like underwater breathing characters, right? And so what happens is we get there and we're all sitting at the table, and the DM's like, yeah, okay, so like you fall into the water, and we're all like, oh, here we go, sharks or whatever. And then we land in a cave that's like a desert, and we're all sitting there like. And so so that was like a one-shot situation, right? And so in those situations, I think the DM has a responsibility to say, if I'm going to tell people it's an underwater adventure and assume that they're going to bring characters that have these skills, don't make it a desert.
or maybe that's the story you're telling. You
Yeah.
want them to be on the back foot the entire time.
Yeah.
That could be fun too.
Well, and that was what I was going to say in terms of like longer campaigns is like, I'm horrible at math. Like if a crazed madman came in and was like, do this algebra test or I'll kill you, I would die, right? And so I think like sometimes, especially in longer campaigns, as we get to know our characters and we get attached to them, sometimes the struggle of like, oh my God, is Kate gonna pass her algebra test? Like, did she remember what the wizard taught her? Right?
No.
Like that can be the stakes of it. But I think it just depends. Are you like min-maxing because you always want to succeed and do a good job? Or are you more interested in the failure and the struggle and the story that comes out of like, I'm really bad at math, but I hope I remember right now, right?
Somehow you filled up the form, and the crazed madman says, "Great job, you passed," and then goes back into the night.
Yes.
We did it.
Also, my other thing, he's great at voices, doing impressions, whether they're silly, not silly. I love impressions. That is all.
Do you guys have any good impressions?
I do have some good impressions, but I really want us to make the character, and we only have like 20
we
minutes,
are.
So
Let's do it.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
One quick thought.
One quick thought.
I love the achievement unlocked perspective of failure. That like I have never had a character die before by getting their brain played by a legally distinct tentacled entity.
Yes. A brain
and,
eater.
Like that was amazing. That character had a whole lot of potential, but it happened.
Yeah.
Yes, death is very memorable. Like, you know, especially if you fell in love with a character, that sucks.
Yep.
You're gonna remember that forever. Okay, so we're all playing Land of Eam now. That's what our current season of the show
That's
is.
what our current season of the show is.
So
Land of Eam.
we're back on the Muppet train, but it's essentially like D&D plus Muppets. That's
Right.
what Land of Eam is.
Yeah. It's very fun.
And we're going to create a character, and we're all gonna collaboratively figure out what this person's deal is. Okay. So we need a species first. I need somebody to yell out a number between 1 and 15. I heard
4 first.
4 is a bugbear. I need a class. 1 through 6, please.
1.
I heard 1. That's a bard. We got a bugbear bard.
Heck
A
yeah.
lot of bees.
Lot of bees.
A lot of bees. The bugbear bard's homeland. I would like somebody to say a number 1 through 8.
I heard 3.
That's Fleabag County. Bugbear
That
Bard's
makes
from
sense.
Fleabag County.
I'll take it.
All right. I got to go to page 74 now. Okay. We got a bard, so now we need to figure out ideally. It's page 74. Wow, I should have had this up a lot more than I do. Come on, 74. Surely a PDF reader.
Also, point of order, Fleabag County, are we talking like Fleabag the television show Fleabag County? Because I'm here for this game. I'm here for this game. Is Andrew Scott there?
Yes.
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 And
He doesn't like you.
he's the crazed madman who
Man,
makes
who
people
makes
do
you do
algebra.
algebra.
Also, I'm just saying he's the best Hamlet. It's fine. Anyway.
All right.
Wow.
So we're finding out how our bugbear. You know what? Let's give this bugbear a name.
Okay.
I'm gonna go to fantasy name generators, which basically we sponsors the show at this point.
We use this one so much.
We don't got bugbear. What
How
name?
do we not
name
have
a-
bugbear?
Yeah, I don't understand. Name a species.
I mean, goblins. They're of the goblin family.
Let's go for goblins. Surely. There we go. Goblin names.
I know
All right,
it's
now-
on there because we've used
Now
it.
somebody say 1 through 10. 10. I
Okay.
heard 10. So oilzerm.
Oil.
OILZIRM.
Oilzerm.
I think we called this one Zerm for sure.
Okay.
Okay, the backstory. So this bard, we got a 1 through 6. 1 again. A traveling troupe of bards always visited their hometown.
Ozerm like ran away with the circus.
Yeah.
Cool. He's like the biggest guy.
Yeah.
And
See,
he's
it's
like,
writing
he has to take care of
itself.
all the
He
little
was
fleas.
raised by fleas. He was so big, he just thought he was a really big flea.
Yeah.
Aw.
He's controlled by a circus of fleas.
That's awesome.
He is now.
It's getting gross in here, but yeah. Ideals for Zerm, 1 through 6. 9.
9. No, that sounds like a 3 to me.
Let's turn that 9 upside down. We got a 6. Encourage someone's creativity is what Zerm loves to do. Isn't that cute? A flaw for Zerm. 1 through 6. 2. I heard 2. Let jealousy best him.
Oh, jealous Zerm.
Of other flea circuses.
Of other flea
sure.
circuses,
Or any
sure.
circus, really, right?
Yeah, any circus.
He just wants to be small.
Oh,
Oh, and you can't.
so big. No. Yes.
Mood.
I had to process that a bit.
Little flying clues.
I mean, sometimes that happens, you know?
Yeah, it does.
Jealousy. Okay, we're gonna have a personal quest that Zerm is on. 1 through 6. 4. Like everybody said 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4 is a popular choice for that one.
Tell the story of blank for all the world to hear about. Now, what's that? What's the blank?
What's the blank?
Wait, say it again.
Not a number. This, okay. Tell the story. Tell the story of blank for all the world to hear about.
So Zerm is telling a story of blank for all the world to hear. So what does
The flea parents. Oh,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was just
Okay.
communicating to everybody about the one that's currently living on him.
Yeah. Gives
I mean,
the voice
honestly,
to the
if
voiceless.
I had fleas doing like trapeze artist acts,
Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
got it.
100%. Oh,
it really
there
is
we
Here's
go.
a Who.
That is already is getting more who in here.
Zerm here's a flea.
No, my family, my future. The circus.
All right, Bard. Zerm, not Bard. He is a Bard. Is traveling with some folks. Probably his flea family is what we've established. So we need a relationship with one special flea family member. 1 through 8 this time.
I heard
7.
7.
I can tell that blank doesn't like me much, but but my irresistible charm will wear them down.
The jealous flea brother.
The jealous.
Why do you get to be so
the jealous?
big?
Yeah, the flea brother wants to be big.
Yeah.
And Zerm wants to be little.
Yeah. The tragic tale.
All right, in this season of Very Random Encounters, where we're playing Land of Eam, they are all on a violence ball team, which is like Blood Bowl. If anybody knows Blood Bowl, that's basically what violence ball is.
It's legally distinct violent ball.
Yeah, we sanded that
TM,
down.
TM,
'Cause
TM.
Games Workshop's kind of litigious. Whatever. You're not narcs, right? Nobody's.
If you are, you have to tell us.
You have to tell us if you're a narc.
I like that you said that, and then I immediately saw somebody take out their phone.
I'm texting Games Workshop right
now.
So
You're going down, Tiny Show.
So the PCs in this season are all on a prison conscription team. Like you don't have a choice. You end up in prison, which is just playing violence ball.
Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about that because this life is not the best for me.
So we have a federal crimes generator.
We do.
And Zerm is guilty of receiving the proceeds of extortion.
Zerm, why?
Who's Zerm extorting?
Another
A
flea circus.
different flea circus.
Do you think it's like one of those like you know like in the rom-com when they're on like 2 dates at the same time? Does he have one flea circus living on his chest and one on his back? And he's like trying not to let
There
them
the
find out
twain
about each
shall
other.
meet. Gosh,
He has to comb
it's just
down,
like a-
comb down, comb down, comb down. They're getting close.
You guys are getting
You too close. Moving down.
Yeah, I think we got a pretty good character
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
here.
But do you immediately care about Zerm?
Me too. I'm putting Zerm in the season some kind of
Oh
way.
no. I'm not taking responsibility for that.
Lightning round. What does Zerm sound like
Oh, yeah.
Boy.
if you were gonna be Zerm? Because you're not.
I think Zerm sounds like this. Welcome to my circus. Would you like to see my secret family or my real family? Secret family is $15. Real family is $5.
Logan, lightning round. What does Zerm sound like?
It's Circus Barker, of course. Welcome to the stage, all of my flea family. And
Secret.
behind me,
Secret
my
people.
secret family.
He keeps trying to like look at the others. Keeps just turning around.
Lightning round. What does
Yeah,
Zerm
what does
sound
Zerm
like?
sound like?
Well, I think maybe Zerm sounds a little bit like this. And he's
That
like, "Hey
feels-
guys, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Do you guys want to see the trapeze? It's right here."
I don't know.
I feel like that's the truest to actual Zerm.
Yeah.
That feels Zerm coded to me.
Zerm
Zerm coded. That's so Zerm coded.
Please take a picture of our panel and hashtag it Zerm coded. We're gonna get this started. It'll be
Yeah,
fun.
it's gonna be a whole takeover TikTok somehow. No, won't be the last.
Yeah, we did it. We created a character. We have a couple of minutes. If anybody has like one more question, want to do one more question? Sure.
Whoever's first.
I don't know your question. How do we know if it's better?
But so the way you deal with that is now flea circuses are a thing in the world. That is now a detail that has been added to the world. And as a GM, I can lean into that and say, okay, there's competitive flea circuses in a couple of towns. And true, this character cares about it, but everybody's working as a team.
Yes.
And so they're now like, okay, now everybody's getting, hey, guess what? This person we care about cares about flea circuses, and now we're discovering there's this whole underground flea circus thing.
I
Where
dare
did this
you
come
to hang out
from?
with Zerm for 20 minutes and not care about
Well,
flea circus.
and let's say that Zerm is in your game that you're playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's it called? Murder ball? Violence
Ball,
Violence
legally
ball.
distinct.
But so now Zerm, who has his family living upon him, is in a scenario where he is going to be like hit by the violence ball. What if one of them gets squished, right? Right? What if something happens? What if he falls down, right? So now Zerm has like a reason to play a certain way, but also perhaps befriend other players and say, hey, like, can you have my back, because literally my entire family is living on it, right? So then that way, like,
He
it
literally puts this
also,
family on his back.
yeah. And
Yeah.
well, and that's the thing, right? And like that kind of thing where maybe everybody knows about it, and because they're all conscripted, right? They're being forced to play. So nobody will ever take a shot at Zerm because like they just like really love him and respect him because he's the big cuddly guy in the yard, right? Like there's a lot of different opportunities to immediately start creating relationships that ground the party. But like also, but since we have also established that like flea circuses are a thing in this world, what if somebody has like the rival flea circus living in their hair or whatever, right? Like it can be goofy, it can be silly, but can also be really tragic. Like if he goes down, his family dies with him. That's screwed up.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Look,
yeah. See now?
now you're seeing the
The
flaws in
political
the system,
side.
the political side that we've been bumping up to in this
Yeah.
season.
Yeah. But that's also a really interesting thing. Like maybe Zerm is trying to like fight for the freedom of his family because he's like, no, I did the crime. They didn't choose to do it, but they're just stuck here, right? So now it's like he's trying to escape, or he's trying to like fight the power, or like whatever it may be. Like all of that is super generative.
I just as a point of order, there would be relationships with every other player at the table with Eames' system. It's just that we are limited to just making Zerm. So he would have connections that aren't just flea circus
all right.
related.
We have to wrap this up.
Yeah.
What are we going to do with these wonderful items?
If you asked a question, come up after the panel and we'll give you something cool. Yeah. And once again, I'm Logan Jenkins.
Sorry.
You can come get business cards and stuff. Yeah. Go.
So like it was like a podcast, and I'm like, I'm Logan Jenkins, I'm Kate Osborne. I was just going for that energy. I'm Kate Osborne, I'm Katiosaurus. Look for me. I'm doing a ton of stuff this weekend, so I'm around.
And I'm Greg. I'm also on Very Random Encounters, and I make games, which you can find on the internet. And this is us, and this is our deal. So thank you so much for coming.
Well, let's pedal.
Be sure to rate and like the panel.
Yeah, be sure to rate and like the
Pedal on
panel.
app. Rate the pedal on the app.
Pick a random number of stars.
Yeah.